Hi everybody, welcome back to Smirking Gun. This is Rob. Uh, I missed last week's video. I actually made a video for last week's episode, Book of the Stranger. Um, and I'm going to get to that. I was in kind of a weird place when I made it. It was very long and I didn't really like it the first time I watched it. I had to watch it a second time. But this is the video for Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 5, The Door, which, kind of like last week, it had some hits and misses for me. I'll probably have to watch it again, but it's very appropriate to wear this shirt because we finally find out why Hodor says Hodor, and it's tragic. I really like this episode for the most part. I'm gonna give it like an 8.5, close to a 9, like more like a 9. There's a lot of, like last week, a lot of things getting set up, people making plans. We got Bran with the Three-Eyed Raven, played by Max von Sydow, going into the, dream, like the tree world where they see the little people, the first people, the children of the forest or whatever, they created the White Walkers because they were in a war against man. So that's an interesting little dilemma. It's pretty freaky, seeing that's how far these people were willing to go, and now we're paying the price years later. We got Baelish, having Sansa meet secretly in Molestown, and her performance here was really good, telling him, basically, what do you think was going to happen when, did you know? If you're not, you're an idiot. If you did, and it's starting to, Littlefinger's plans, I feel like, are starting to fall apart, which is disappointing because I love Littlefinger. But he didn't tell her about the army in the Vale. It's full spoilers, by the way, if you haven't seen this episode. This is the second time I've done that. Forgot. Sorry. Apologize. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. He didn't tell her about, that he's got the Men of the Vale, the Knights of the Vale, on his side, and he probably is waiting to throw that card out there. He realizes, she's pissed off. I mean, really pissed off. She could have Brienne kill him in a second. So he left that out. You do find out that the Blackfish, her uncle, I believe, is taking back Riverrun, and he's got an army. So Jon finds that out, and Davos and them, they all start to plan to head out into different areas to bring back the people of the North back to their side, which is going to be advantageous, because now they're all kind of spread out. And the Night's Watch is basically, on their own right now. Tormund is still giving Brienne the looks, which is really funny. It's about the only comic relief. We've got Arya and Braavos still getting her ass handed to her by that other girl. If it's a girl, the many faceless man could be anybody. But the Jack and Hagar looking guy, gives her one last chance and gives her this poison to kill this actress, who we find out is putting out a play basically of her father's situation in King's Landing, basically kind of like a Shakespearean comical farce of the whole thing. So she's kind of upset. She starts to question things already, and she's, Arya is, I don't know how I feel about her storyline anymore. It just keeps dragging out, making very small strides to what could possibly happen. So hopefully that gets better somewhere, and kicks into high gear. Maybe we're being a little impatient that we don't, we want to just see her be the kick-ass assassin or something. I don't know, but we gotta pump the brakes. Maybe, I don't know. We've got the Greyjoys, the King's Moot, where if you've read the books, you know that Yara does not get it. Euron basically, I think he's more of a, I don't know. I remember the books, and I can't remember if Euron is as bloodthirsty as he is kind of being portrayed in this. He wants to build a fleet and go to Daenerys, where, if you've been watching the show, Daenerys doesn't have a fleet anymore. But he plans on giving her ships and basically trying to win her over, let him become the king of her kingdom. Well, she'd be the queen. Kind of delusions of grandeur, possibly, but it might be hard to resist a giant fleet that's made. Well, Yara and Theon take off. After Theon backs her up pretty hard, they take off with the rest of the ships. because they don't agree with Euron. Euron's crazy. And we got Daenerys, who this is just briefly, she finds out that Jorah's got the grayscale. He tells her, finally that he loves her, that Tyrion was right, I'm in love with you. She commands him to find a cure, and when she takes back the Iron Throne in Westeros, that she wants him by her side. Kind of sappy, and probably, if it happens, it happens. This again, they kind of fell back into old patterns of, well, she burned all her clothes off and killed all the guys, and we got some boob shots, and now we're back to the boring story of Daenerys. What do we do with the Dothraki? I'm assuming she's gonna lead them to wherever to expand on her army before she takes Westeros on. Again, whatever. We get Varys and Tyrion finding out that crime has gone down since they made that little peaceful pact. They bring in a new Red Priestess that Tyrion wants on their side, but Varys starts questioning her, her loyalties, and how Red Queens in the past recently have been wrong about who they follow and whether or not they're in it for themselves or whatever. And I like that scene. It's just more talking, It's okay. It's just there's been a lot of talking in the last couple of episodes, but it all makes up for it in the end when Bran grabs the root and sees the army of the dead. Great production value in this. He walks through and he sees the Night's King and the other White Walkers, the true White Walkers, and one grabs him in it, and you realize that now they can find Bran. He's been marked, and the Red Raven says, you got to get out of here. Well, you got to become me, and you're not ready. But the girl, I can't remember her name. It always escapes me, all these different names sometimes. But she gets this weird feeling, it looks like, and she runs out and she sees that the army of the dead and the Night's King and the White Walkers are right there out front. So she has to get Bran out of there. And she finally is able to get a hold of Bran through, he's deep in with the Raven in another world, basically. Hearing Ned's father's last words to him or whatever, if you're going to have to fight a battle, win. He finally takes over Hodor and drags his own body towards this, and the army of the dead are coming, and the girl throws a spear with the dragon steel on it and dragon glass and kills one of the White Walkers, and she's just freaked out at everybody else, holy shit, I did it, and that did it, dragon glass did it. They're on the run. The last little child of the forest or whatever, she sacrifices herself and blows up a bunch of them. They get to this door, and Hodor gets out, and the girl drags Bran into the the expanse of white, and Hodor is holding the door. And Bran is still partially in this other world back in old Winterfell. And all of a sudden, the Hodor that's there, Willis, has a seizure. Now, in the present, Hodor is holding the door. You see where I'm getting at. Well, if you've seen this, you know what I'm talking about. And he's the seizure having Hodor, or Willis, starts saying, hold the door, hold the door, hold the door, hold the door, hold the door. It turns into Hodor. And he's holding the door, and he basically, they're ripping through the door and they're killing him. Hodor is dead. And you find out that the reason he says Hodor is because of this moment in time. Through the timeline, the reason he became Hodor went through time, through the trees, through all the roots in the system and everything. And it hit him back when he was young, just to remember now that he has to hold the door. I'm going to miss Hodor. Man, it really sucks. Tragic way to find out how that is and how everything happens for a reason. And Hodor had a purpose. A tragic purpose. Damn, it really sucked, but it was a really intense scene. They're out in the middle of nowhere now, so I don't know how Bran and her are gonna get out of there. But we'll see. I forget what the next episode is called. But anyway, to go back to episode 4, Book of the Stranger, I watched it again and I did like it more. I chose not to air the video that I made for it because it was only like 4.5 minutes long and it's basically me just going, So, I mean, because basically Littlefinger puts the guy in the Vale's place, basically, almost has him killed and takes the army of the Vale for himself. You got Daenerys who kills all the horse lords in spectacular fashion. It was her naked. She wanted everybody to know. You could tell if you've seen her naked on the show enough, you knew that was her, or they found a really good body double. But she says it's her, which is fine. She's always fine. It was better than when I first watched it. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, so I give that episode still like an 8. Because the whole fire thing, like the way the whole place just went up, I don't know. But there were some good parts, Theon apologizing, saying he's going to back up his sister. I mean, all things that were set up that paid off in this episode. More King's Landing stuff, where they're saying that Marjorie's not going to have to do the thing that guy wants her to do, the High Sparrow. And so, anyway, I'm going to leave it off at that. So next week we'll have episode 6. Again, I forget the name of the episode, but we'll be here. Again, I give this episode like a 9. Tragic ending to an intense ending to another pretty good episode of Game of Thrones. If I'm not as keyed up as I have been in the first 3, it's just because, I don't know, we're in that middle part of the season where things, there's always going to be good parts of an episode, and there's going to be slow parts of an episode, and this is where we start to build up towards like the penultimate episode, which is usually episode 9, and then 10 is how they they show where they're headed into the next season. So hopefully by 6, 7, 8, we start to pick up more steam, see how we can start to see more how it's going to play out. I believe it's going to play out. 9's probably going to be the battle at Winterfell. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. So 6, 7, and 8 is going to be the build-up, I think, towards finding the army that's going to help take on Ramsay. Hopefully Ramsay dies at the end of that episode, or maybe 10, who knows. Anyway, this is Rob from Smirking Gun. Please like and subscribe. I'm getting this episode up as soon as I can. And, yeah, we'll see you next week. Have a good day. Bye.